zampe ze parache pande alame shabla solvade Om a Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om a Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Suma Timonisha Sane Kar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Sikso So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Oyon Sunge Nawa Tsedo So Tseji Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dechen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yila Sambe Dede Malupa Gemel Hunge Drubra Chinge Lo Tsoni Sodan Dikdun Shakpe Tse Dunge Namke Yinso Lekshune Lapchen Tsoni Yonso Tsopata Chera Nyetun Chamra Chinge Loba Chancho Parge Ninsen Tukuntu Niu Peme Siudro Lekshune Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshishi Tungen Dela Drubra Chinge Loba Dage Lona Chola Chopata Chemin Samjor Ngemba Shiwa Chedan Timbe Dede Malupa Beme Lunge Drubra Chinge Lob Dorna Tengne Tsera Tamche Dan Teche Pardo Nekava Tamche Tu Rese Kyamne Lama Kele Me Tukche Chenge Dala Sikso Sol Gongyab Drewe Nyamta Dachala Chetsun Lame Tuje Rab Gongne Kudan Sunge Nawa Dralme Tu Nyamsu Nyongwe Kesan Toprashun Kewa Kunto Yanda Lama Dan Drame Cheki Pela Longche Ching Sadan Lamge Yunten Rabzone Dorje Change Kopang Nyurutobe Shoya Pakyuke Kudan Dagelu Pakyuke Sungdan Dagenga Pakyuke Tukdan Dageyi Tenyerme Chikto Chingelo Makyuke Kudan Dagelu Makyuke Sungdan Dagenga Makyuke Tukdan Dageyi Tenyerme Chikto Chingelo Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Sashipaki Choshimeato Chamayare Rabalingashin Nide Gyampad Sangye Shinto Mikte Ulwarki Drokunamanda Shinla Chöpara Shoya Jetsulame Kotserabde Shinam Kar Tingle Chochur Gepadang Lo Santempe Drove Sasumki Drove Muselataktu Negyur Chiyidam Guru Ratna Mandrala Kam Niryatayami Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chushe Gibe Sonam Ki Drula Pinchira Sangye Drupara Shua Sangye Chodan Tsoge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchira Sangye Drupara Shua Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla Jancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchira Sangye Druparasho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni, possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Lai ke da ludan chin ke drubundan da mi kenam dam drowa kunge janama che tsampa tamche ke tu dagi che tento. Buongiorno, good afternoon. Anche se il Dharma va al di là delle lingue, in questo momento devo scegliere una lingua in cui parlare, no? Perché alla fine o si parla l'italiano, o si parla l'inglese, o il portoghese, o lo spagnolo, o il tibetano, oltre quello non riesco ad andare, però devo scegliere una lingua. E di solito durante gli insegnamenti che avvengono durante l'anno, prevalentemente vengono fatti in italiano, visto che siamo in Italia, giustamente, no? Però in questo momento che facciamo di solito a fine anno e nella pausa d'estate, sempre viene fatta una parte dove si dà l'insegnamento prevalentemente in inglese, anche perché è un momento che più persone vengono da fuori. Quindi quest'anno, visto il Covid, è più difficile di viaggiare, però manteniamo questa tradizione. Ok? Quindi darò gli insegnamenti in lingua inglese. Chi ha bisogno della traduzione, c'è Maria Cristina che farà la traduzione simultanea, molto bene, quindi uno può ascoltare la traduzione simultanea. E chi vuole provare a ascoltare in inglese, magari non parla un ottimo inglese, può provare un po' con uno, un po' con l'altro, anche è un vocabolario abbastanza semplice, si parla, quindi non credo che sia così complesso. Ok? So, even though Dharma is beyond language, qualcuno ha bisogno della traduzione, chi ha bisogno delle cuffiette, ci sono le cuffie qua, magari Carmen puoi aiutare a vedere chi ha bisogno delle cuffie, ok? So, even though Dharma is beyond language, Dharma is something that is much beyond one language or another. In the moment of speaking, we need to follow conventions. And so I need to choose one language, no? Or do I speak in Italian, or is it in English? Should I speak in Portuguese? We have many people from Brazil, or in Spanish, or maybe in my Tibetan. I cannot go beyond that. But still, we need to finally make a choice of a language. And normally, during the period of teachings that we do during the year, most of the teachings here are given in Italian, as we are in Italy. But and normally in the end of the year and in the period of July, teachings, I give them in English. So I would follow this sort of tradition, and I will be giving this next day's teachings in English. Okay? So for those that need the translation, I already said in Italian, there is no need of saying it in English. You can have the translation into Italian. Okay? Okay. Sometimes people that start following Buddhism or that are following Buddha's teachings already for some time come to me and say, "Oh, Lama, it's difficult. I have understood many things, but yet I cannot change my mind. I still follow the same patterns. I still follow the same behavior. I am more or less in the same situation." And some people even say, "Oh, now things are even more difficult because before I was not aware and I was acting. Now I am even aware and I still continue to act in the same way." So it's like before I would just get angry and I felt everything was fine. Now I get angry and then I get upset with myself because I got angry and I knew I was not supposed to get angry. So this is an issue that actually comes since long, long time. It's a very well-known issue. Since a long time before Buddhism arrived here, since the time of India, since when we read the stories of the great Mahasiddhas and great masters and practitioners, from the time of Buddha onwards, has always been the issue, the fact that there are things that we understand, but it's not because we understand that necessarily we can realize. There is an Italian saying, which is "tra il dire e il fare c'è di mezzo il mare," which is between saying and doing, in between there is the whole ocean. No? And we can change this little bit to say between doing and realizing, between understanding and realizing, in between there is a whole ocean. There is a whole path. No? Some people say the distance between the head and the heart are many kilometers to go. Okay? What happens basically is the fact that in our lives, what determines our experience and actions is not so much our understanding, but it's mainly our own experiences and our habits. We are made out of habits. Okay? Our mind is conditioned to repeat things in a certain way, and the more we act in a way, more spontaneously it comes to act in that way. So we are made out of habits. Some habits we bring from lives. Okay? So understanding, it's important, because by understanding we can have conscious actions. And through these conscious actions we can gradually make new habits. But the process of making a new habit is long. So since many centuries and centuries, many of the people who entered into the path of Buddhism, they found themselves into this dilemma. I understand, I study, I debate, I have a whole understanding, but then my actions and my experience and my direct perception does not truly correspond with my understanding. And now what do I do? Okay? And this is when starts the process of training. And when we look in history, many great masters, great practitioners, even though they had all the understanding, they still were looking for a way how to realize. For example, one very famous story is the history of Naropa and Tilopa. So Naropa was already a highly realized master. He had incredible knowledge. He had many disciples. He had finished all the most complex studies on Buddhist philosophy in the monastery of Nalanda. He was a very accomplished Buddhist practitioner. He was not like someone that just read a book somewhere or listened to someone talk once in a while. He really went deep into it, and he had all the theoretical understanding and knowledge about the whole path of Buddhism and the whole philosophy and everything. And he had good levels of meditation and everything else. But still, he knew clearly that part of the path was conceptual and was not being truly realized. So, what he needed to do was to find someone that could help him on this process of realization. And through his own meditation, he came to know that he should follow a master which was called Tilopa. And when I think about this story, every time it amazes me to think that someone in his own meditation, he had a comfortable life, many disciples, important role in society, doing something good, everything. And then in his meditation, he had this vision that he should follow a master called Tilopa in order to transform his knowledge into actual experience and realization. And he left everything. So he left all the people he knew, he left the social, financial stability he had, he left everything was there to go to look for a master that he didn't know truly if he existed or not, or where this master was. And just think about, you are in India, and then suddenly let's go to look for someone in India, No Facebook. Just intuition, which is much more powerful than Facebook, by the way, but still. He went around to look for Tilopa. Then the whole story is very beautiful. We're not going into details now. But he meets Tilopa, and one day he is in the bank of a river, and he sees this man, which is like dressed like a sort of beggar, which in India they are the sadhus. So he's almost completely naked. On his body is covered with ashes from the cremations of human bodies. And he's on the bank of a river fishing. So he's catching the fishes, and then he opens the fish and he eats only the internal part of the fish and throws away the rest. And then Naropa looks at him and thinks, oh, poor man, what a negative karma he's doing, so much ignorance. And in the moment that he thinks that, this man looks to him and says, this poor man is the one that you were looking for such a long time, no? And then he turns around and just goes walking. And then Naropa starts going after him and says, oh, but are you Tilopa here? And then he doesn't answer. He doesn't look to him. He doesn't care about him. He just goes on his way, you know? And then for 12 years, this was Tilopa. And for 12 years, Naropa was following Tilopa and doing everything he will tell him to do, even the most strange things. And what is interesting is that in all these years, it's not that Tilopa was giving many formal teachings mainly to Naropa. Afterwards, he gave transmissions and empowerments, but mainly was to the power of the connection that they had. And this master had the ability of creating conditions that was helping Naropa each time he would go through this new experience, something that was only conceptual, he would have very deep insights and he would realize them. So when we go to the biography of Naropa, there is the common biography, which is just telling what happened outside. Then there is his secret inner biography, in which he talks about his inner experiences. Normally, for the great masters, there are 3 biographies that are written. There is the common biography of his deeds, which is where he was born, how he studied, what he did, all the deeds of his life, so from looking from outside. Then there is the inner biography, which is written only by the person himself or herself, in which they explain their own inner experience. And then there is the secret biography, things that cannot be shared until a person is alive, that can only be published after death normally. Anyhow, in the inner biography of Naropa, he starts explaining that every one of these experiences, what was his inner realization. Then we take another great master such as Atisha. Atisha had all the knowledge. He didn't need extra explanations. Atisha already had many disciples. He had incredible capacity of samadhi and concentration, perfect morality, deep understanding on sutra and tantra. But he felt clearly that there are aspects of the path, especially in relation to love and compassion, so-called bodhichitta, that were conceptual, that were not truly deep in his heart, were not yet realized. So he went to look for a master that could guide him on that path. And again, he followed his own intuition. He went to a retreat, and in this retreat, he had this vision of this master called Lama Michel Rinpoche, Guru Suvarnadipa, that he needed to follow. And Guru Suvarnadipa was in the island of Sumatra, which at that time took him 13 months to go from the north of India, at the time in the part where nowadays Bangladesh, up to Sumatra, in Indonesia nowadays. And all of that based again on deep, strong intuition. And then when he met his master, he stayed with him for 12 years. And actually, there was nothing new from my understanding, from what I understand, there was nothing new from the philosophical, theoretical point of view for Atisha to learn with Guru Suvarnadipa that he had not already learned or known before. but was by being in presence with this master, and he went through his own process of training. So gradually he could transform the knowledge into experience, into actual realizations. Okay. And there are many other stories. We take example the story of Asanga. He had all the knowledge, but he went on 12 years retreat to realize great love. Okay. Another moment we can go again through the story of Asanga. I told it many times, a very beautiful story. So, in all this time, one of the most important things in order to bring from knowledge to experience is that we need to have someone that have the experience that shares one's own experience and path with us. That's why when we go through the teachings, it's not saying relying correctly upon the Guru is the root of knowledge. Nowhere is saying that. We can have knowledge without relying correctly upon the Guru. We can read books. Nowadays we can listen to videos. We can listen to people talking without having a relationship of faith and trust and love and so on. But the realizations depend upon cultivating a pure relationship with our own spiritual guide. Lam Gitsawa Shenyen Tembe Tsuls, it says the root of the path is relying correctly upon our spiritual friend or virtuous friend or spiritual guide. And when we see Naropa, he went to look for one master, Tilopa. And he didn't need to learn new knowledge. He needed to receive a heart-to-heart transmission of someone that had the experience and realization. That's why normally when we go to look for a master, there are two different moments. There is one moment in which what we need is knowledge. And what we need is knowledge. We need to look for someone that can share us knowledge. Okay? And this is, in Tibetan, the word mainly used is Genla, which means teacher. Then, when what we need is not knowledge, when our objective is not knowledge, but it's mainly inner realizations, it is the transformation of our own mind, body, speech, of ourself as a whole, to transform it from the deepest level, to eliminate our defilements, to realize our qualities, to walk on the path to enlightenment. Then we need a guru, not a teacher. And the role of the guru is not to teach us. The role of the guru is to bless us and to guide us. Okay? But we will go through this again later. So, if we look in history, often whenever someone wanted to really realize a path, there was a moment in their life when they would study and learn, and then they would need to look for someone that have realized what they want to realize. So, very often it was given more importance for masters that had the realization more than masters that knew how to explain things clearly. Because sometimes there were great masters that, for whatever reason, they were not very eloquent in their way of explaining. But yet, they had deeply realized states of love, of wisdom, and different other kinds of realizations. And this is said to be one of the most powerful things. So, as the centuries passed by, often the most important thing is for us to be able to look for someone and to find someone that can guide us, but someone that have had the actual experience. So if I want to develop love, I need someone that have this love. If I want to develop stability, I need someone that has stability. If I want to develop kindness, I need to look for someone that has kindness. If I want to develop wisdom, I need to look for someone that has wisdom. It's not necessarily someone that knows how to explain me what is wisdom. I need someone that has wisdom, that is the embodiment of wisdom, the embodiment of love, the embodiment of stability, of kindness, of morality, of whatever is that I want to develop. The one that guides me, so-called guru, must be someone that is the embodiment of the qualities that I want to develop. Okay? And it's not easy, it's not simple for us to be able to be in touch and to find someone that embodies the qualities that we want truly to develop. Okay? So, then there is another aspect. There are many manifestations of pure beings of Buddhas, but not always we have the right connection that we are able to get in touch and to connect in order to follow the path. We call not necessarily we have the right karmic connection. There is one prayer in the of Tara in which it says, even though there are countless manifestations of Buddha, out of the lack of karmic connection from my side, I cannot be guided by any one of them. So please guide me. You who are my guru, you to whom I have the connection, please take care of me with compassion and kindness. But where I want to get is that if we have the opportunity in our life to be in touch with people that are the embodiment of the qualities that we want to develop on our path, it's one of the most precious and valuable experiences that we can have. It's one of the most special things that we can have. Okay? This is one of the reasons why Tibetans take so much care of reincarnation. Because it's easy to get knowledge. Not easy, but also not so difficult. Compared to realization, it's very easy. Okay? But the special thing about realization is that realization goes from life to life, while knowledge does not. So once we find someone that we have the karmic connection and that has the realization, then we stick to that one and we don't let him or her go, you know. That's why, for example, if we look to my left side, above, you can see there the drawings of all these masters, no? And then where there is the white window of Buddha Vairocana and Akashvajra, there are some of my main masters of our lineage like Tilopa, Naropa, and so on. And then there is one taking a chariot. That's the first life of Kyabche Trichan Dorje Chang recognized. And there we go one after the other until in the end there is their Buddha Vajradhara, the blue one. All the other ones are the lives of Kyabche Trichan Rinpoche. Okay? Kyabche Trichan Rinpoche is represented also on my left side, which is the guru of Lama Ganche Rinpoche. Okay? So basically, one of the points is that, okay, we found someone that has all the realizations. I will stick with you from life to life. So when great masters pass away, there is the tendency to go to look for their reincarnation. Because, okay, knowledge needs to be learned once again, but the realizations are there. So this is one of the reasons why so much emphasis and importance is given to finding the reincarnation of great masters. Okay? But what happened is that not always is possible for us to be constantly guided, hand in hand, with an enlightened master. Even when we meet an enlightened master I mean someone that is the embodiment of what we want to realize, such as love, wisdom. Still, we can be even taken hand by hand with the most important master, we still need to make our own steps. We can live day and night with a Buddha. If we don't make our steps, we will not move forward. No? One of the examples from the time of Buddha was one of the attendant of Buddha. His name was Kungawo, Ananda. Okay, Ananda, he was the personal attendant of Buddha, and it's interesting because when he requested, Buddha asked him to be his attendant, he answered, "Yes, I will be your attendant with one condition. May I be wherever you are and may I go wherever you go." You know? And the Buddha said yes. So, one time I remember Rinpoche laughing because it happened, Rinpoche had many people together with him all the time, Lama Michel Rinpoche, you know? And sometimes he would go to one place and he was supposed to be the guest, and there were always like 3, 4, 5, 7 people together, no? So it was never, you invite Rinpoche, was never Rinpoche with a certain number of people, no? And then one time he said, you see, even Ananda with Buddha, he said, yes, I do, but I go wherever you go, you know? And Buddha needed to accept. Anyhow, Ananda was near with Buddha every moment of his life after he became Buddha's attendant. For many, many years, he followed every teaching. He took care of Buddha. He served Buddha in many ways. He was there all the time with Buddha. But when Buddha passed away, all the disciples that had their realizations of the correct view of reality, so-called arhats, all the disciples gathered and they started sharing Buddha's teachings. They were saying, okay, in that occasion, Buddha said this. But the only ones that could do this were the ones that had a certain level of inner realization, which is once a practitioner has a direct experience of the correct view of reality, then there is an open access to all the memories of the past. Like if there is no more lack of memory. It's like if the mind opens to everything that was seen or heard or taught. So the only ones that had really correct memory were the ones that had this realization. So all the disciples gather and they start sharing everything which Buddha taught. But the only one that was in every occasion present was Ananda, and he had not yet gotten the realizations. So even though he was there day and night together with Buddha, he was the last one from his disciples, not the last, but from more than around 300 disciples, he was the last one. So all of them were like, come on, Ananda, now it's your time, we need you, you know. So they were like trying to make effort to help Ananda, and finally he was there meditating a lot, and finally he was able. No? So this is just another example to say we can be there day and night, even together with Buddha. This doesn't mean that we have realizations before others. So from one side, yes, we need to be guided by someone that have direct experience, that is the embodiment of what we want to realize. And this is truly very important. So when we look for someone to guide us spiritually, what we look for is not a teacher. We can have teachers. But what we look for is a spiritual guide that is the embodiment of what we want to realize. Okay? This is one aspect. On the other side, we need to walk with our own legs. We need to make our own effort. We need to go through our own process. When we are together with someone, when we create the connection of trust and love with someone that is the embodiment of the qualities that we want to develop, by that we receive the so-called blessings, which are subtle conditions that allow us, that help us on our own process of realization. Okay? But still, we need to walk, we need to make our effort, we need to go on our path. So, for our own fortune, masters of the past went through this whole process. There were many practitioners that they fell in love with Dharma, started to learn something, went through difficult moments in which they had knowledge, but yet they didn't have full deep realizations, met incredible masters, but they saw that by only knowing an incredible master is not enough. They still need to do their own effort. And they went through a whole process in their own life. And some of them have been so kind towards us that they took the path that they did and they put it into writing, step by step. And they shared this path. And this has been put into practice by others after them, and it have worked in the same way. Once the conditions are there, once we want to follow a path, we rely upon someone that guides us correctly, that is the embodiment of what we want to become. And then we follow the steps, then we gain the actual realizations. So these steps have been put into teachings. For example, as the teachings of Lamrim. Lamrim, the first one to teach Lamrim in Tibet was Atisha. Basically, Atisha, he put all the teachings together into a system which is basically like enlightenment for dummies. Which is basically step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. First you do this, then you do that, then you do that, and so on. Because if we take the texts of Lamrim before Atisha, so difficult to understand. You know? The text of Lamrim before Atisha is called Ornament of Clear Realization, which is Montogyen in Tibetan. I have memorized this text, I have studied it, but it's so difficult to even grasp at the meaning. No? The first line of this text is Nyento shiwe tsonam kunshe nigi nyershi trize kanyendan rola pembar chenam na she nigi jikden tundru zeba kan kanda yandan depe tuna nambar kunde natsu disumba natsu janjo sembe sange gini yum tela cha tse lo. It takes 1 year to study. And it's so deep, so much context into it, to content into these lines of praise, which is praising the Hinayana Arhats, praising the Bodhisattva, praising the Buddha. But it's very dense. So this text, it's very dense. It was written by a Sangha following teachings of Buddha Maitreya. And what happened is that until that, people would need to learn from here, learn from there, learn from there, learn from there, and then after they would need to put all the pieces together and put their own practice. What Atisha did was to take all the path, all the philosophy, all the methods, and simply stitch them together. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Bite everything, chew everything for us, and then give to us. Here you are. Now you do. And these teachings have went by in the Sakya tradition, in the Gelug tradition, very strongly. After going through Lama Tsongkhapa, and many masters after him, and the most common text that we have of Lamrim nowadays is called Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, which was written by Kyabje Papunka Dechen Nyingpo. Okay? At the same time, Atisha gave other teachings, which were like the essence of the Lamrim. The Lamrim is all the necessary steps on the path to enlightenment. So basically, what is in the Lamrim is not what we need to learn, is what we need to practice, what we need to familiarize our mind with, which are the steps that we do to grow on our path. Like sometimes, now quite often actually, people come to me and they say, "Oh Lama, I have been listening so much to Buddhism and I like very much the teachings, but I want to practice. Where shall I start?" Step 1, rely correctly upon the Guru. Step 2, realize the preciousness of this rebirth, of this life. Step 3, realize impermanence, the certainty of death and the certainty of the uncertainty of the moment of death. Step 4, meditate and realize the law of karma. And like this we go on. But this is not something that you do externally, it's inner experiences that we need to go through. So Atisha, who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 11th century, he gave one part the teachings which are so-called Lamrim, the gradual path to enlightenment, which is in one text that he wrote, which is Chanchu Lamdran, which is basically the lamp that enlightens the path to enlightenment. And then, at the same time, he gave other teachings which he kept somehow secret, which were like the core essence of Lamrim, which were called the teachings of Lojong. Lojong means mind training. And these teachings were passed by from him to few disciples, and then they passed to their disciples, so Atisha to Dromtompa to Potowa, and like this it went Potowa to Sharawa, and like this went on, passing to few disciples, not many. Okay. Then it came one moment to Geshe Chekawa. In Geshe Chekawa, he actually, more or less a century after, he was the one that put it into writing. And he received these teachings for more than 22 years. And after 22 years being guided on the path to enlightenment through this method, which is called mind training or Lojong, he put it into writing, making clear steps. It's like the Lamrim of mind training. It's like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there are 7 steps. More than 7 steps, there are 7 points of training. Okay? So these have been known as the 7 points mind training. So what is important for us to understand is that the 7 points mind training is not just a text that we will go through. The 7-point mind training, or mind training in 7 points, it's a method. It's a complete system that we must apply through our whole life. It's not just something, okay, I listen, okay, nice teachings, now what? It's a complete system that has been used for centuries in order to realize the path. Okay? So here we come to a very important, decision, a very important moment, which is the distinction between what are we here for? Do I want to be am I here to be a Buddhist? Do I want just to learn Buddhist teachings in order to be a Buddhist? Or do I want to reach enlightenment? Am I here to follow Buddha's teachings, or am I here to be a Buddhist? I'm sorry if I make this distinction. Okay? We can still follow Buddha's teachings and be a Buddhist. But sometimes we just find some sort of comfort zone within the identity of being a nice Buddhist and following things correctly, and then everything will be fine for me because I have a good karma and I follow well the teachings and I do things as I need to do. I behave correctly and everything will be fine with me. What do we want? Do we want to be a good Buddhist, or do we want to go beyond that and actually truly to develop our qualities to their maximum potential in order to help others? Okay? We are not here today in order to study Buddhist teachings or just to learn the concepts and so on. But yet, instead, we are here together to, yes, we study, we learn, but we need to learn what are the tools, what are the steps for our own practice so that we can transcend our own ignorance and our own selfishness. And by that way, we can actually help others. Okay. So, it's very important for us to have clear in mind that it's a mind training. It's a training. To train means it requires our own effort. We need to go beyond our own comfort zone. We need to apply energy into it. You know? The other day, I came by one documentary which was showing the training for military elite group. No? The so-called American Navy SEALs. And they have this extremely hard physical and mental training. They go on for a long time. From around 400 people that started training, like 7 are able to complete it, whatever. Okay? And training is about repetition, 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 repetition. It's about being able to do things that initially we would not even believe that we can do it. And what we do is by repeating and by entering this process of training, we are able to do things that before we would not even imagine. Somehow we could say that the practice of Lojong is like, let's say, this training of high standard training of a bodhisattva. Okay? I want to train to develop love and wisdom, and we need what is the most, high-level training. And this is inside Lojong, inside the teachings of mind training. So, one of the aspects of training, any training that we do, is that a training requires us to do what doesn't come spontaneously. Okay? Because if I am doing what comes spontaneously, I am not training myself. I am reinforcing my habits. And there are some habits which is very good to reinforce. But when we need to change our own way of being, our way of thinking, and so on, in that moment, we actually need to act, and we need to change our way of thinking, our way of acting physically, our way of speaking. And training requires us somehow to get out of our own comfort zone and to look at ourselves in our own eyes and have the courage to do something differently. Okay? So I'm saying all of this because we're going to start now with the 7 points mind training. And I don't want someone to say in the end, oh, but I thought it was easy. It's not easy. You know? And if what we want is just to listen to something nice, I'm sorry if I use this term, but if what we want is spiritual entertainment, this is not the place for it. You know? Sometimes I listen to comments, oh, Lama, thank you, your teachings were so nice. I don't want to give nice teachings. I don't care if the teachings are nice. I don't care if they are pleasurable. If they are, wonderful, because this means that somehow we have an extra hook, you know. But what we need is by the Dharma, by sharing the Dharma, that we can confront ourselves, we can grow, and sometimes the process may even be a bit painful. Okay? So we are not here for spiritual entertainment. We are here for confronting ourselves with our own defilements, for looking at our own potential, for directing ourselves to become a better version of ourselves. And it's a process of training. The name itself already says, mind training. Okay? One of the wonderful aspects of it is that when we go through a training as this, we connect ourselves with our own potential. We connect ourselves with our qualities. And it gives meaning to life. It makes every moment meaningful. We go beyond living just for survival. And it helps us to transform every moment of our life. It helps us to transform every situation that we go through. So let's go a little bit through the introduction of the text. Okay? And there it talks about these qualities also. Let me see if I have the text here in English. Actually, I think I have only the Italian version with me here. Okay. Yeah, can someone get me the English version of this little booklet? Thank you. So, as I also wait for the, you can have, no problem, wait, it's coming, in the meantime I do other things. Thank you. As I also wait for the text in English, we will follow tradition. And as per tradition, before we start studying or receiving the transmission of an important text, we go through the transmission, okay? Basically, these teachings were firstly given within these words by the great master Geshe Rinpoche. Geshe Rinpoche wrote 8 verses of mind training by Geshe Chekawa. Then Geshe Chekawa taught these teachings to his disciples. I have the complete line of transmission, the names which I didn't bring with me today. Maybe tomorrow, these next days, we can go through it one moment. But basically, Geshe Chekawa taught this to his own disciples, and like this it went on up to us. So I received these teachings, this transmission from different masters. I received it from Drubon Kanche Rinpoche. I received it from Kyabche Trichan Chotu Rinpoche. I received it from Nyima Tulku Rinpoche. I received it from the abbot of Tashilumpo, Kachen Losam Punso Rinpoche. I received it from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I received this transmission from Kyabche Dragon Rinpoche. I received from different masters the transmission of this text. Then I was able to receive the full commentary in Tashilumpo in Tibet. There is one commentary which is called Lojong Nime Öser, which is the commentary on mind training as the sun rays, which was written by one master called Horton Nanka Pel, which was a direct disciple of Lama Tsongkhapa. So it's like the transcription of the commentary of Lama Tsongkhapa on the seven points mind training. And then there were many different commentaries that were there. The first one in Gelugpa tradition is the one from Lama Tsongkhapa. Then there is the one of Gyalwa Gendun Drup, the first Dalai Lama. Then there is commentaries from many different masters. There is from Penchen Losang Chogi Gyaltsen, very important commentary. Then from Yonzin Yeshe Gyaltsen, another very important commentary also. So I was able to go through many of these commentaries, and by that to make my own process, okay? This text has been around Tibet for many centuries, especially since the 12th century, no? And when it came to the time of Papunka Rinpoche, the guru of Lama Ganche Rinpoche, there were different versions of the text available in Tibet. So basically, what happened was that which are the texts of the 7 points mind training? There were few versions where some lines were slightly different and some orders were slightly different. So a request was made to Pabongka Rinpoche, please, can you make one version for us? How should we follow? No? Can you edit it? So Pabongka Rinpoche, he went through the main commentaries of the 7 Points Mind Training. He took all the versions that existed, he compared them, comparing with all the main commentaries, and he made one final version of the text, which is the version that we are using. And he added to the original version of the text some small subtitles, like, he added some small notes to it, okay? So when we look in this little booklet, which I prepared some years ago, which is very, very precious booklet, in page 39, the book is called Method and Wisdom to Realize Inner Peace, 4 Practices of Lojong Mind Training. So here, if we look to the text, we have what is written in a normal font is the actual text. Then what is written in italics, it's basically what is the instructions, which is like this, that were written by Pabongka Rinpoche, the notes that Pabongka Rinpoche added. And what is written in bold is the titles of the different parts which Pabongka Rinpoche added, okay? So, what I will do is I will give you first the transmission of this text as I received it. So, as I said, maybe in another tradition, like in the Sakya tradition, for instance, you may receive these same teachings with a slight different version of this text. So, as I said, in the beginning of the 1900s, when Pabongka Rinpoche made this version, there were different versions in Tibet, so he put them together and made one final version that we use nowadays. Okay? They're all very, very similar, but there are some small words and some orders and so on. Okay? So the oral transmission is something that in Tibetan Buddhism is extremely important, because it is said that in order for us to be able to get in touch with the deeper meaning of a text and to be able to have realizations out of that text, we need to receive an oral transmission from an uninterrupted lineage. Which means I received this transmission from the masters that I just said before. They received from their gurus, that received from their gurus, and like this we go back up to Geshe Chekawa, who wrote it for the first time. Okay? So you visualize now that above me is my own guru, Lama Drupal Kanche Rinpoche, embodying all my other gurus together. They're inseparable, one from the other. Above them is their own guru in the aspect of Kyabche Trichan Rinpoche. Above Kyabche Trichan Rinpoche is Kyabche Pabongka Rinpoche. And like this, we have a line of masters that goes up to Geshe Chekawa. From Chekawa then goes up to Atisha. From Atisha to Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa to Nagarjuna, Asanga, up to Buddha Shakyamuni. Okay? So if we don't need to visualize each one of them, we just imagine this line of transmission coming from one to each other. And then from the heart of each one of them is coming this line of light, like a ray of light, which is bringing the actual deeper meaning, because the words represents concepts and inner states of consciousness. So the actual deeper meaning of the words is being then transmitted at a form of light, going from the heart of one to the other. Then it enters into my own crown, to my heart, and then from my heart, as I recite the words, it goes into the heart of each one of you. Okay? So as we visualize that, I will just read the text, recite the text as I give the oral transmission to each one of you. Sashi pöke chukshi medo chari rablin shinyi de gempa de sangye shindo mikde ulwargi drogo namda shingla che parasho ye dam guru ratna mandala kam niryata yami sangye che dan soge chonamla chancho bhardo dani kyapso che dage che shigibe sonam drola pinjira sangye drubrasho sangye che dan soge chonamla chancho bhardo dani kyapso Dagi Chishigi Sunamge Drola Pinjira Sange Drubrasho Sange Chodan Sogi Chonamla Chanchu Pardodani Kepsut Dagi Chishigi Sunamge Drola Pinjira Sange Druparasho Tekba Chembo Lojong Tundu Me Tsawa Shugo Sun Oya tuje chembo la cha tse lo chokun sumbra tembe chir ziba chembo chewa tempa minga dunze nimbo de selin pa ne gyuba yim damga la kuba kebe chir chogi chewa tempa dorje nima junshin shin shundun la so shebra cha nima nga bo deba de chancho lamdu gyurwa yim damga ngöge loma jetra tiwe rimba la tunzen dungi Tambo ngonro tengi chotenbani, tambo ngonro talalap. Niba ngoshe chanchuki semjongwa la tuandam chanchuki semjongzo dan kunzo chanchuki semjongzo nile tuandam chanchuki semjongzo yiknim palchera tuangondo songyang ranglo chamgo tsongaba chenpo she sotar lojong nime weser lojong lo sangwenge duitsi nimbo kiu tsan tsatsik so mangboro woktu sumba shin gomba kebra chenge le woktu Kobra Chawe Tena Kunzo Chanchuki Sim Jongwani Lelian Damje Jila Da Kunla Katrin Chewa Gonton Le Nibo Pelmarja Limbe Korin Rangne Tsam Teni Lungla Kumbra Cha Yulsum Tuksum Geza Sum Chegi Menga Durdu Pa Tela Drimbra Kuwe Chir Chelam Kundu Tsigi Chan Tuna Chanchuki Sim Jongwani Tempa tomne sangwa ten chuna milan tabro samake rikpe shila che nimbo nikyang rangsa chul lamge ngowo kunshe nga la sha tunsam gyu me kibro cha somba kenge chanchuke lamdu gyurwa ni Nöju dikpa nöju dikpe kangwe tse kenge chancho lamgo kenge chancho lamdu gyur tela kanto gomdo char chorwa shiden tapki cho shiba tse che nyamlen drilne temba ni Menga nimbo durdu pa tomga dadan charwa char tekpa cha tekchen powe damga ni tomge ni yin cholama che nga ba lo jongwe tsetemba ni chukun gomba chikdu du wangbo nigan tsobor son yide bashi gyundu ten changwe tsenye lokba yin jongda chenbo nga den yin yenkyang tupna jongba yin drogba lo jongge tamse temba ni Chidun sumla takto la dumba gyurla ranso sha yan la nyamba jami cha shincho kaya mi samu nyomon kanche ngun la jan dribu rewa tamche pan tukchen gi se pan shungdum shung sambo mi ten shanghe mi go chang mi go ne la mi ab zu kala lang la mi chu Tolo mi cha gyo ge tse mi tum La du mi aba ki ge yan la ge do ki ge yan la tu du mi tsel Dumba lo jong ge lab cha tenba ni Nel jura tamche chi ge cha lo nyon tamche chi ge cha Toda ni la cha wa ni nibo kanchon sobra Nibo sodan döne son kawa som la labra cha gyu ye Tsowo nam son la nyamba nyamba meba nam son gom Dalme sumdan dembra cha yula chome taktu jang kyabdan tingjong kunla che kolwa namla taktu gom kenshen dala dömi cha tare tsowo nyamso lang kolo mi cha rejo mi cha tulcho tu jang tokcho takche bam du bandu Nige tawracha o niba nige tawracha yuma gomo koloma de yutsami cha wetse mi de janjoge semala den tobe sombe jugduba ni rangi mebe mongwe gyu dunga tenga dunga tamnge kese ne dagzin dulwe damga shu tani shiyami gyu tom Tedra lojong tundume tsazen dan treba so kadam sarninge sungge chö tu singge chö tu shindu mawa shukyang pelchera shungsege korem dan tsingna mangyum drami shindu mangshin gashi ge dige kapge chela jarwa dewa yang chiriks gashi yong dramin be tsazen namga nazo nawa chela ten Ranglo jimgon songkaba chenpo sungyon tar ki lojong nime weser lo sang gwengen duitsi nimbo nam gong tong gun timbe gong tong gong dikbe tsatsik chik chungna Chimaru Nyampe Ringne Simur Shingpa Lor Chamde Gende Chambalingdu Janju Lamre Chemo Chekap Chikdu Druba Lurle Lamrimpa Punsopa Dene Tenche Chidra Gulwashi Tsare Mangbo Shiptana Tsaze Chogi Tiktok Sa Chegi Gente Chokchikdu Paponke Tumi Petiba Dröden Pewara Gyuruchi. Sashi Pugi Chushi Medo Chanrirabli Shini de Gemba de Sange Shingdo Mikde Uwarge Drugu Namda Shingla Chopra Sho Yidam Guru Radna Mandrala Kamnirya Tayami. Okay. Before we start reading the actual text, there is something that I like to add, which is that these teachings, for a long time, they were kept secret. They were not taught in public. The reason for that was that they required one very basic but not easy condition, which they still require today. But for many centuries, the masters, they chose not to teach to those that didn't have first this quality. And Geshe Chekawa, he first entered in contact with the teachings of Lojong, of mind training, by reading the text of the 8 verses of mind training, Lojong Sigema, by Geshe Rinpoche. Senge Dorje. So, and then he went to Lhasa to receive these teachings, but from Geshe Rinpoche. But when he arrived in Lhasa, as soon as he arrived, Geshe Rinpoche had just passed away. So he went to look for masters, and there was Geshe Chekawa, which was a disciple of Geshe Rinpoche, but also a disciple of the same master, Geshe Potowa. So he went to receive teachings from Geshe Chekawa. And he stayed nearby Geshe Chekawa. He went to every opportunity there was of teaching. Every time Geshe Chekawa gave a teaching, he was there every time for 2 years. And in the end of 2 years, he went once to Geshe Chekawa. Geshe Chekawa was making circumambulation around the stupa. So he went there. He requested the master, saying, "Oh, great master, can I make you a question?" And Geshe Chekawa said yes. So he took out his cloak, his part of his robe, and he put on the floor. And he said, "Oh, please, master, can you have a seat?" And he sat there. And then he made 3 prostrations. He made 3 circumambulations around the Guru, 3 prostrations. And then he recited the 8 verses of mind training. And he said, "Oh, great master, I have been coming to your teachings now for 2 years. And I came to you because I wanted to receive guidance on this practice. And in all these 2 years, I never saw any reference to these teachings, to this practice. Why is that? Is maybe this practice a practice that doesn't have a lineage, it's not really existing as a practice? Is it because it's not a valid teaching and practice?" And then Geshe Chekawa put his hands together out of great respect, and he said, "Not only these teachings exist and have a valid lineage, but they are very much real. They do exist and they are very valid. The reason why you have not listened, you have never heard about these teachings since you came here, is because the people that come to receive teachings from me are too infantile, too childish, not mature enough to receive these teachings." And then he said, "So please, master, what are the conditions necessary in order to be able to receive these teachings? Because this is the purpose why I came here." And he said, "You need to have the total determination, the strong commitment to put it into practice as soon as you receive it. These are not teachings that can be given just as a form of intellectual study. So the basic condition to receive these teachings for centuries have been, you must have a full commitment to put it into practice as soon as you receive them. Okay? And this is what makes them very powerful. These are teachings that is a method that if you use it, if you put it into practice, is extremely powerful. If you leave it there, it's just knowledge. And it's quite simple knowledge. It's not complicated. There is one part a bit more delicate, but most of it is quite simple knowledge. So, Geshe Chekawa stayed with Geshe Chekawa for 22 years, if I remember well. And after all that years, he was there receiving the teachings. And after that, he wrote the 7 points mind training, or the mind training in 7 points, which is a way how these teachings were made public and how they come to us. So I'm not making a distinction like, okay, let's see who is ready to put it fully into practice and then all the others go home. We are not doing that. But it's important for us as we go through the teachings to understand that we are not here to share knowledge. We are here to share a path, to be practiced, to be followed in one's own lifetime. Okay? Well then. And from all the masters of our lineage, this has always been one of the most valuable and respected and followed methods of the spiritual path. Okay? I'm going to explain to you this text, going to read through it by using one commentary that was written by Kyabche Trichan Dorje Chang, which is the root guru of Kyabche Drubon Kanche Rinpoche. Okay? And he wrote a very simple commentary in which he took the text of Paponka Rinpoche and he just added some words in the parts where there may be some more doubts, and he added a little bit on it, okay? And for my own understanding and practice, I have always followed this text, so every time that I went to the opportunity of sharing this, I went through this text. Also because the other commentaries, such as the commentaries of Lama Tsongkhapa, which is written by Horton Nankapel, or the commentary of Gyawa Gendun Drup, or the commentary of Penchen Losan Chogi Gyaltsen, of the commentary of Yonzin Yeshe Gyaltsen, and so on. They are extremely detailed commentaries. If we need to go through it reading, we can stay months here. They are really, really extremely detailed, and the whole path to enlightenment is inside of it, okay? So instead, Trichan Rinpoche made this very simple commentary, which is profound and simple. So I'm following that commentary together. So also for me, it's a reference which I have always followed, and it's a way to make sure I'm not saying anything out of place. I have someone that I truly trust as a reference of understanding. Okay? Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Tekpa Chimbe, Lojong, Töndume Tsawa Shuksos. The name of the text is the 7 points mind training, or the 7 points mind training on the Mahayana path. Okay, the complete name includes Mahayana. Tekpa Chimbe Lojong, so is to train the mind of the Mahayana. Mahayana is the great vehicle. You know, there is a difference between a path and a vehicle. He said that the teachings of Buddha can be divided into 3 vehicles that follow the same path. So it's one road, but we can go on the same road with 3 different vehicles. We can take a bicycle, we can take a car, or we can take a helicopter. Okay? We can use different metaphors. We can go walking, we can take a car, or we can take a rocket. Okay, we can do different metaphors. Which is the easiest one? I would say it's the bicycle. or walk. Okay, depends what's the metaphor. Let's say it's a bicycle because it's called a vehicle. Who is not able to ride a bicycle? Almost no one. Everyone, after a little bit training, can ride a bicycle. Driving has a higher capacity. It's a better vehicle in the sense of power and strength and speed, but it's more danger. And it's more difficult. It requires more level of training in order to be able to use a car. And if we need to use a rocket or a helicopter, okay, the helicopter goes much faster. You know, it doesn't need to go through all the bumpy roads around. It just goes directly. But it needs a lot of training in order to be able to fly a helicopter. Because if you take a helicopter in your hands and you don't know how to pilot it correctly, the probability of having a very bad accident is quite high. So the first vehicle is called the Hinayana, or the common path vehicle, which is called the small vehicle. Then we have the big vehicle, which is called the Mahayana. So the bicycle is, let's say, the Hinayana. Then we have the car, like the Mahayana. And then we have the helicopter, which is the Vajrayana, the diamond vehicle. Okay? It's not that one is necessarily better than the other and let's go for the best. Actually, we cannot use the car if we have not gained familiarity with the bicycle. And we cannot take the helicopter if we don't know really how to drive well the car. Okay? So they are all very important. This is something that is important for us to remind ourselves. It's not, oh, Vajrayana is the best, so I don't even need to think about Mahayana and Hinayana. I want to go directly with the best. It's not possible to understand and to learn and to use this powerful vehicle if before we are not acquainted and we have not familiarized ourselves with the other two vehicles. Okay? So when we say that this is the mind training of the Mahayana, it means that it's one path, which is the path from where we are, which is so-called samsara, into the state of Buddhahood. And this path can be followed by different vehicles. Okay? So the Mahayana is the vehicle which we follow, more of our lineage mainly uses. And it has different characteristics. It has the characteristic basically of love and wisdom. These are the two most important characteristics of it. Okay? So when we talk about training ourselves, 7 points of mind training, but training our mind on what? Because, you know, we could have 7 points of mind training to learn how to be a good cook. You know, to be a master chef. 7 points mind training for a master chef. Learning how to choose the right ingredients. And, you know, understanding the needs of your customers who are eating. Learning the relationship, understanding the relationship between different states of health and food. You know, how to make food a medicine. I'm just inventing. Okay? This could be steps of the training of a great chef. No? We can make 7 steps for training to be a good killer. You know, like a sniper. They go through a lot of training. There can be training of any sort of thing. They are training. So when we talk about mind training, we are training our mind on what? We are training our mind on the Mahayana, on the great vehicle that takes us to the path to enlightenment. So basically this means that this is a method to train ourselves mainly into 2 things. Love and compassion on one side, and wisdom on the other. These are the 2 main trainings that we need to do. Okay? So it's not mind training, just we need to train the mind. We need to train the mind on what? That's a very important question that we need to understand. Okay? Because we need to train our mind in many things. Okay? Even to do cleaning, we need mind training. No? Which often lacks, but still it's necessary. When doing cleaning, there is methodology, there is awareness, there is understanding the relationship between external cleaning and internal clarity. I don't know how many of you remember the teachings of Lumpo Tata about cleaning. When he was here, this great master from Thailand, he gave us hours of teachings of the importance of cleaning, being clean, and being punctual, and being organized, and all of this in relation to our own inner spiritual path. It was interesting because the things he was saying were very clear, very simple. But yet there were many people that struggle a lot with that teaching, I remember. Many people were like, yes, I don't agree fully. Basically because we are lazy being clean and we are lazy being so organized and following this. There is some difficulty into that, So even for that we require mind training. But the mind training that is here is how we train ourselves into love, compassion, and into wisdom. Correct view of reality. These are the two main things in which we need to train ourselves in. Okay, so this is what we understand from the title. Tekpa Chembe Lojong. So it's the mind training of the Mahayana mind training in 7 points, or the 7 points of Mahayana mind training. And again, Maha means great, big, Yana means vehicle. But the word Yana, which in Tibetan is translated into Tekpa, it also means capacity. So the Hinayana, the smaller capacity, the smaller vehicle, is the vehicle in which has the intention to take oneself out of the cycle of suffering, out of samsara. The Mahayana is the vehicle through which one takes the responsibility of upon oneself to help every sentient being to get out of suffering. So it requires, that's why it's a greater vehicle. It comes with a much bigger deal of responsibility. Okay? And the Vajrayana, which is called the diamond vehicle, is the quick path to enlightenment, which we will speak on another moment. But there is a saying in Tibetan which says, Domena nga hum hum pepeing, which says, without the sutra, the tantra is just hum hum pepe. It's a way of saying that everything that you have in the Vajrayana, it is a way that is based on the teachings of Buddha of the Mahayana. It's not possible to follow the Vajrayana without first entering into the Mahayana. It's like it's one step ahead, the Vajrayana. It's not an alternative path. Okay? So this is also important for us to remember. So let's start with the actual text. So in the beginning we understand, okay, this is a mind training, so it's not a text of philosophy to study, it's not a beautiful poetry to read, it's not a text of inspiration. It's actually 7 points of training. And the 7 points of training are training for what? For love and compassion, and wisdom. Love and compassion on one side, wisdom on the other, which is the two main things that we need to train ourselves in order to fulfill the path to enlightenment through the Mahayana vehicle. Okay? So now. Tukje Chembola Chalselos, homage to great compassion. The text starts paying homage. And this is something that all the great masters, whenever they wrote the text, they would always start first by making a praise. Okay? So in this case, Geshe Chekawa chooses to praise compassion. And tukje chenpo la chaatse los, tukje chenpo ninje la chenrese dans, nge tun uma jukpes, te chatar ninje chenpo, tokta parsam tu kanche wala chaatse los. So, homage to great compassion, there are two aspects of great compassion being paid homage to. Great compassion as a quality, as a state of consciousness, and great compassion as, an embodiment. So basically, there are actually three parts of great compassion, which we call the cause, the path, and the result. So we have the resultant compassion, the path compassion, and the cause compassion, the basis compassion. So let's try to understand it better. First of all, tukche chenpo is the word that is translated as compassion, but tuk means mind, but also means heart. Mind not as the conceptual mind, but the most non-conceptual state of mind. Je means great. So Je is also like the, the master. Je also means like the Lord. Okay? So the great Lord of the mind. Tuk, mind. But remember, it's not tuk, doesn't refer to the conceptual mind. It's the mind in its every aspect. Tuk. Je is the Lord, the head, the master, the most important of all. Okay? Tukje, chenpo means great. So the great Lord of the mind. Who is the great Lord of the mind? Love and compassion. It's the most powerful state of consciousness. So this mind is the mind that has two different aspects, which in Tibetan we call champa and nyingje, which is the translation from the Sanskrit of Maitri and Karuna. Okay? Which the meaning is the attraction for happiness and the aversion for suffering. Okay? If I am attracted by your happiness, it means I love you. It's not I need you to be happy. That's desire. So when someone comes and say, oh, I love you so much, I cannot live without you. Wait, pause, rephrase. You love me or you desire me? You need me in order for you to be happy, or you are strongly attracted by my happiness. You are attracted to me in order for you to be happy, or you are attracted to my happiness, or to both. Normally, very often when we use the word love, actually we mean attraction. We mean passionate attraction. Actually, the word love in English, it comes from the Sanskrit word lubya, which means physical passion. And the word in Italian amare, amore, comes from the Sanskrit word kama. Kama, kamare, amare. And the word kama means also physical, passionate desire and attraction. Okay? So in our Western world, in our language, when we manifest this feeling, this important state of mind, which we call love, which we call amore, amare, amor, actually we are coming from a word that originally means physical passion. Okay, it's from the mind, but it's basically passionate attraction. So normally when we say, I love chocolate, can I say I love chocolate? Is it possible to use in our language to say I love chocolate? But what does it mean when I say I love chocolate? Does it mean that I wish the chocolate to be happy? No. Does it mean I care for the needs of the chocolate? I love so much the chocolate, so I put it in the fridge in the right way. I take care. I keep the chocolate clean. I love so much the chocolate. When we say I love chocolate, what do we mean by it? I project my happiness in the chocolate. I am happy and I feel good when I have the chocolate. Okay? Similar to the way of saying I love chocolate, normally we say I love my children, I love you. Very, very often when we say to a person I love you, we say to the person I love you as we say to the chocolate I love you. Okay, sorry to put it this way. Okay? But that's how we mostly use the word love. Okay? And this is a very, very important concept to go to the rest of the text, so let's make it clear from the first line. When we say here love, sometimes it's translated from some translators, they call loving kindness. The word Maitri is translated as loving kindness, which I'm not satisfied with that translation either. So the real problem we have is that we do not have a word, at least from my understanding, in our common language to express this state of mind. Okay? Some people say that when we go to the different types of love in Greek, there are different words. In the Christian tradition, sometimes different words from the Greek are being used to describe love. I went a little bit through all these different words to understand how is the understanding of love. But to be sincere, some of them get more near to the understanding of Buddhism, but I couldn't find anyone that gives the same meaning. Okay? So I prefer not to use another word. Let's keep the word love. Okay? But we need to give a new meaning to it. Okay? So when we say love here, it means I am attracted by your happiness. Attraction towards the happiness. I love myself means I am attracted by my happiness. I want to be happy. I love you means I am attracted by your happiness. I wish you to be happy. This means I love you. Compassion is the other side. It's the aversion towards suffering. I have compassion of myself. I do not want to suffer. I have compassion of you. I do not want you to suffer. Okay? So here, the master of all minds is this state of mind which is the union of love and compassion. This is this great mind. And often it's being translated as compassion, but I prefer always to put together love and compassion, which are just two manifestations of the same. Okay? Because when we strongly wish someone to be happy, naturally we don't want that person to suffer. No, it's completely contradictory. I wish you to be happy, and I also want you to suffer. It doesn't work. Okay? So in the moment that I wish you not to suffer, I wish you to be happy. In the moment that I wish you to be happy, I don't want you to suffer. So they are of the same nature, but yet they appear and manifest in different ways. So these are two emotions, two states of consciousness, which are not the same, but if there is one, there will be also the other. So the most important of all the states of mind, it's not concentration, it's not even wisdom. It's compassion and love. Okay? Now, the resultant state of compassion and love is what we call the embodiment of compassion and love. So when we praise the great compassion and love, we are praising those that are the embodiment of love and compassion. Our own Guru, Buddha Shakyamuni, Avalokiteshvara, Buddha Maitreya, all the Buddhas, all the holy beings, all the great bodhisattvas, anyone that for us is the actual embodiment of love and compassion, we are praising here. Okay, so in the very beginning, when Geshe Chekawa starts with the praise, and he say, homage to great compassion. I pay homage to great love and compassion. Okay, and if we would make a more literal translation, I would say homage to the greatest, to the great, Lord of the mind, to the most important state of consciousness, which is compassion. So homage to great compassion. Tibetan language is a very beautiful language, and every word is composed of other words very often, minimum 2 words. So when we say tuk je chenpo, tuk is mind. You know, for example, when we do the prayer, pa kyu ki ku dan dagi lu, pa kyu ki sun dan dagi nga, pa kyu ki tuk dan dagi yi. Tuk means mind in an honorific way. Yi means mind in a non-honorific way. So tuk is mind. Je is like kyabje. You know, when you say kyabje drubon kanche rinpoche, je tsun lame kutse raptenchin, je is the same je. Je means master, Lord, the most important one. Okay? So, tuk je is the master of the mind. It's the most important state of the mind. Chenpo means great, the great master, the most important masters of the mind, which is compassion, love. Okay? So, we pray homage. We start by the resultant state of love and compassion, which is one's own guru, which is Buddha Shakyamuni, which is the embodiment of love and compassion, which is Buddha Avalokiteshvara. Okay, so we are paying homage to them. This is showing us one thing, first of all, that as Geshe Chekawa writes the texts, he's saying, look, this is not something that I am inventing myself. I bring it from my gurus. I have received, and this in the next lines he will make it even more clear. But first of all, I pay homage to my gurus. I pay homage to those that have taught me. This is the first step. With this, he's also showing to us that the first step on the path to enlightenment, before we start with the actual 7 points mind training, is to rely correctly upon the guru. That's the first step. At the same time, he's paying homage to the path. And also to the basis. So let's move one moment to the basis. Then after we go back to the path. There is one very important text called Uma Jukpa, which was written by Chandrakirti. Chandrakirti, he wrote this commentary on the text which calls Umatsawa Sherab, which was written by Nagarjuna. So basically, Nagarjuna, he wrote this text, Umatsawa Sherab, which is a commentary on the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom of Buddha Shakyamuni. So Buddha Shakyamuni, he didn't write directly, but he taught, and it was later transcribed, the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom in different versions. Okay, there is a very short version, which is the Heart Sutra, up to the very long version, which is something like at least 20 volumes. Okay, so the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom, there is the short version, which is 8,000 verses, called Getongpa, which is one of the most important ones, well-known ones. Then Nagarjuna made a commentary on the Sutra of Perfection of Wisdom of Buddha Shakyamuni, in which he explains the whole correct view of reality and the path to enlightenment, and is called Umatsawa Sherab, which is the root of the wisdom of the middle way. This text was commented by Chandrakirti, which is said Umala Jukpa. Uma Jukpa, which means entering into the middle way. So it's like an explanation to the commentary of Nagarjuna. And in this text, the very beginning, Chandrakirti starts this text by praising compassion, by making praise to great love and compassion. And he makes a very special praise, because he says that, I don't remember right now the verses precisely, but he says, I pay homage to the great compassion that is important in the beginning, during the path, and in the end, just like water. So, let's see that there is a seed, okay? The seed, it's a potential that we all have. The seed is called the basis. And it's an important thing to understand that each and every one of us, we do have the seed of love and compassion. And we will just see it a little bit later. I said I would explain the basis first, but we go first with the path. So we all have this seed, which is the basis. This seed needs to be moistured. It's water that allows the seed to ripen. Then once the seed has started to ripen, it's always water that allows the sprout to grow and become a tree. And once the tree has grown, it's always the same water that allows that tree to give fruits, to bear fruits. Okay? So water is essential in the beginning, in the path, and the result. Similar to that, it's love and compassion that allows us to enter into the path to enlightenment. We enter the actual path to enlightenment when we develop true love and compassion towards oneself and others. So we start the actual path to enlightenment by developing great love and compassion towards oneself and others. That's what allows us to enter the path. That's when we moisture the seed of enlightenment. That's when it starts to ripen. During the whole path to enlightenment, as we go through the path of accumulation, preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, the path of no more learning, as we go gradually through the path to enlightenment, what gives us the strength to follow each step, it's always love and compassion. And once having reached the state of Buddhahood, what allows the Buddha to act for the benefit of others is always love and compassion. So the love and compassion that is fundamentally important in the beginning, during the path, and in the resultant moment. The seed is something that we all have. Something that it doesn't matter who we are, if we are a human being, if we are an insect, a whale or a dog. It doesn't matter what form of life we have. Each and every one of us have attraction towards happiness and aversion towards suffering. Okay? This is something that we all have. There is not anyone that is not attracted by happiness and doesn't have aversion towards suffering. It's the same for every one of us. It doesn't make any difference. All of us, no one wants to suffer and everyone wants to be happy. That's the same thing. So, this very strong attraction towards happiness and aversion towards suffering is the seed that we all have that can be moistured, and by that seed we can actually develop attraction towards all and aversion towards the suffering of all. We can understand and we can develop this inner state in which your happiness is as important to me as my own, your suffering is as important to me as my own. And our own selfish attraction for happiness and aversion for suffering, which we have, which is actually our own selfishness. So we could say, this is not how it's normally presented, but I have no problem in saying that the seed for enlightenment is our own selfishness. Okay? Because on the seed for enlightenment is the wish to be happy, the attraction for happiness, and the aversion for suffering. When this attraction for happiness and aversion for suffering is directed only towards ourselves, I don't want to suffer and I want to be happy, that's what we call selfishness. And are we selfish or not? I am. I don't know about you. I let everyone give your own answer, okay? Are we obsessed with self-gratification of the I and the my? Mostly yes. Sometimes we may think about others when it's convenient, but mostly we are obsessed with self-gratification. So this means, yes, we are selfish. That's a very good news. Because if you are selfish, means you have the seed for enlightenment. We just need to learn how to moisture that seed and how to use it in order to become something else. And then there is the other aspect of the seed of enlightenment, which is the true nature of our mind, which is our potential of enlightenment. Are we inherently selfish, or are we interdependently selfish? Okay, we will go through this later. But we are interdependently selfish. We are not inherently selfish. In other words, we are not selfish in a way that we have nothing to do with others and we do not interact with others in an autonomous, independent way. We are selfish in a way that we interact with others. But we continue in an interaction that keeps up with the selfishness. But we are interdependently selfish, not in an objective, autonomous, independent way selfish. Okay? So, these 2 points are the basis. And in a way, when Geshe Chekawa praises great compassion, is praising the basis, the path, and the result. So he's making a praise that to one's own guru, is making a praise to Buddha Shakyamuni, to Avalokiteshvara, as the embodiment of great compassion and love. At the same time, he's making a praise to love and compassion itself as the method that brings us from our state of suffering towards the state of Buddhahood, towards nirvana and Buddhahood. And at the same time is also praising the potential of enlightenment that we all have, which is all of us, we have the potential of love and compassion, which is our own selfishness that is empty of inherent existence, which is our own mind that is attracted towards happiness and it has aversion towards suffering, and it is interdependent. Okay? This is a very non-orthodox way of explaining, but I think it helps us to connect with the meaning. Okay? So, when we say, I pay homage to great compassion, I pay homage to love and compassion. So when we say that first line, we connect to these 3 levels. Why are they so important? Because when I connect to the basis, I connect to my own potential. And I pay homage, I see, which means I respect my nature. I respect my potential. And I know that if I take the right care of it, I can become a Buddha. So I look towards Guru Buddha, I look towards my Guru, Drupal Kanche Rinpoche, I look towards Buddha Shakyamuni, towards Avalokiteshvara, which are the embodiment of love and wisdom, and I say, I want to become like you. But at the same time, I pay respect to my own potential, and I say, I can make it. How? By following the path, by cultivating love and wisdom, by cultivating the mind of bodhicitta. So I pay respect to the result, I pay respect to my potential, and I pay respect to the path that brings me towards the result. Okay? I think it's quite clear, no? So, tukje chembola chaktselo. I prostrate. Chaktselo means prostrate. I prostrate towards great compassion. Okay, here it's translated as homage. Literally, it also can be translated as prostrate. And if we take the word in Tibetan, prostrate, it has even another meaning. Okay, chak, in a one way of translating, chak means hand, in an honorific way. Tsel means request. So it's the request by hand. So somehow it's like, I make a request, I put my hands together, I pray you, I make a request to you. But chak also means seal. Okay? It's also, chak is also the short version of the word chakya, which is translated from the Sanskrit of mudra, which is a seal. Tsel means request. I go for, I request. So please grant me the great seal of great compassion. Please grant me the great seal of the Lord of the mind. So the seal is, what is the seal of this great seal? The great seal is the mind that realizes the true nature of reality. Okay? It's the enlightened state, it's the enlightened mind. That's called the great seal. Okay, Mahamudra. So it's the enlightened mind. So when we say in Tibetan, chak tselo, tukje chembola chak tselo, if we go deeper into the meaning, what we are saying is, I request, may I gain the ultimate mind of Buddhahood, of the Lord of all states of mind of great compassion. We are going to that, we are saying, okay, I praise deeply as a result, as the basis, as the cause, and as the path, what? The great state of mind of love and wisdom, the mind of a Buddha. And I want to reach that, and I believe that I can make it. So we are praising the result, but we are at the same time making praise to our own potential. Okay? When we do prostrations, it seems we are only paying respect to whom we prostrate to. But when we make prostrations to the Buddha, to the Guru, when we make prostration, we are actually also paying deep respect to our own potential, because the only reason why I pay respect is because I believe that I can make it also on this path. So we also pay respect to our own potential. So making it simple once again, as we pay homage, as we prostrate to great compassion, we prostrate to great compassion as the basis, our own potential, as the path of developing compassion itself and love, and as the resultant stage, the embodiment of love and compassion as Guru Buddha. Okay? Homage to great compassion. Chokun tsumpar tembe chir zeba po chewa tempas. Menga dutsi nimpo di serlimpane gyubayins. In order to see the importance of these teachings, here Geshe Chekawa talks about where the teachings are coming from, where this method is coming from. So he says, the essence of this nectar of secret instruction is transmitted from the master of Sumatra. Menga dutsi ningpode serlimpade negyupain. The essence of this nectar of secret instructions is transmitted from the master of Sumatra. So it is saying that what I am about to write here is the essence of a secret instruction. It's the essence of nectar. What's the meaning of nectar? Okay? There are different types of nectar. There is the nectar of medicine that gives immortality, which means the nectar of medicine that overcomes death. No? Let me see now. I have the Dutsi. Chiwa mebe mingi Dutsi. Sakpa mebe Geshe Chekawa. Now I forgot the other two, but still. There are different forms of nectar. There is the nectar of medicine that overcomes death. There is the nectar of wisdom that overcomes impurity. Okay? And there is also the nectar of dharma that overcomes suffering. Okay? So, when we talk here about the nectar, a nectar, it's something that has the very strong power of healing, basically. Something very pure. So the nectar that we have here is the nectar that allows us, as similar, if we have a very strong illness and we take a very powerful medicine, that medicine is able to overcome that illness and to heal us. That's a nectar. Similar to that, this nectar, which is able to heal the sickness of samsara, is able to eliminate suffering in its every manifestation. This is the essence of the nectar. What I'm about to talk here is not the complete nectar. I'm not going to go into every detail of the nectar. The nectar are the teachings of Buddha, the nectar of Dharma. The nectar refers to all the teachings of Buddha. The essence of the teachings of Buddha, the essence of the nectar, which has been transmitted to me as a secret instruction that was given initially by the great master from Sumatra, Guru Suvarnadipa. Okay? So we have few things here. One, that is a secret instruction. About what? About the teachings of Buddha, about the Dharma that takes us beyond suffering to the state of nirvana, and is an essential instruction. It's not a detailed, long instruction. It's an essential instruction. It's something that takes us direct into the point. Okay? So this is coming from where? From the great master of Sumatra. As we said before, Atisha, at one point, he felt the strong need to realize great love and compassion, bodhichitta, not only understand about it. And he went to Indonesia. It is said that when he went there, in one of the biographies says that there was a ship that he took and there were 300 disciples together with him. And he had so many disciples that not everyone but 300 of his disciples went together. No? Sometimes I would imagine, Rinpoche, and then suddenly Rinpoche, and we're not living in the times in which we are where you can take a plane, go and come back. Imagine suddenly saying, okay, I am going to look for a master on the other side of the world. And everyone said, okay, I come with you. No? So together with Atisha, 300 disciples went. And in the moment that Atisha arrived in Indonesia, in Sumatra, and he met Guru Suvarnadipa, he requested him, can I be your disciple? And he accepted it. And can I be your near disciple, which means can I receive teachings without formalities? And he said yes. And the first teachings that Atisha received was a full commentary on the ornament of clear realization, the gradual path to enlightenment, okay, which I recited the first line before. No? And in these 12 years that Atisha stayed there, he received these direct transmissions from Guru Suvarnadipa. And it was not easy to go there. It took 13 months by sea. And it's not like nowadays you have a nice cabin and you are relaxed, nothing is happening. They went through many different, sea storms. And it was like a very, very difficult journey. In the biography of Atisha, is a lot of emphasis put how difficult this journey was. And these were not people that were used to complain about difficulties. So if they say that the journey was really difficult, it means like it was really tough. So, and why did Atisha go through all of this? To receive instructions of how to develop great love and compassion. And after 12 years receiving these instructions, when the kingdom of the great kings that were actually ruling over that part of what we nowadays know as Indonesia. And that at time the kingdom was falling apart. So at that time it was not more safe for the great Buddhist masters to be there. So he left and he went back to India, Atisha, at that time. It was a complete cycle of 12 years. And whenever the name of any one of the gurus of Atisha was said, he would always put his hands together in his heart. And whenever the name of Guru Suvarnadipa was said, he would put his hand in his crown. And then once was asked, but Atisha, you teach us that all the gurus are of the same nature. Why do you give more respect to Guru Suvarnadipa? And he said, because there is one of the masters that is able to touch your heart in a more profound way than others. They are all of the same nature, but I have particular gratitude towards Guru Suvarnadipa. So, after passing all these years there, and from all the teachings that he received, and everything that he received, he always kept this as the most precious. And the 7 points mind training that we are about to go through are the essence of what Atisha received from Guru Suvarnadipa. So the essence of the nectar, the essence of the Dharma, of the secret instructions, or the secret instructions which are the essence of the nectar, the essence of Buddha's teachings, they were taught to Atisha by Guru Suvarnadipa. Atisha brought it to Tibet, shared it with Dromtompa, they shared it with Potowa, they shared it with Sharawa, and then it came also to Geshe Chekawa, that put it into writing, and then their lineage follows. Okay? For me, one of the very important things is that I remember when I was a small kid, there was one thing that was very common and I couldn't understand much, which was many of the kids in school had pictures of movie actors or soccer players and all sorts of things. And I would look at that and I say, what's the point? And I remember saying, okay, if I need to put a poster of someone, it will be maybe Milarepa, Lama Tsongkhapa, no? These are true idols. People that were able truly to live a life of peace and were able to be an example of what we want to become. No? And for me, something that is very powerful is that this text that we will go through is the same text that Trijang Rinpoche, that Lama Gansha Rinpoche meditated upon, that Kyabche Trijang Rinpoche meditated upon, that Kyabche Paponka Rinpoche meditated upon, that the fourth Panchen Lama, Panchen Losang Chogi Gyaltsen, that Lama Tsongkhapa meditated upon. These are the same instructions that have been followed generation after generation from all the great masters that were able to reach this great state of nirvana. And we are able to receive the same instructions today. I'm far away by being able to explain them in the way how they were able to explain. I was sharing the best of my abilities, but the instructions are the same. So, it's something very, very precious that we have here. It's something that Atisha took a long time to receive. It took a long time for him to digest, to put all the pieces together, to put in a way that we can all have access to it. And it was kept one generation after the other as the most precious thing. And it arrives in our hands. Okay? So, you should understand, it says here, dorje nima damga kuba kebe chirtu chogi chewa tembas dorje nima junshin shin jancho lamtu gyurba ins dorje nima junshin shin shungton lasu shebarcha nima ngabu debati jancho lamtu gyurba ins. So revealing the features of the teachings of the doctrine to engender respect for the instruction. It says, you should understand the significance of these instructions as like a diamond, the sun, and a medicinal tree. This time of the 5 degenerations will then be transformed into the path to the fully awakened state. So what are the qualities of these teachings? What are the qualities of this, more than these teachings, of this method of the mind training, of the Mahayana mind training? Okay. Here. Menga dutsi amrita chimela jux dutsi tramo yang chompas sange kona yinshins chidu tramo yang chompas sange kona yinshins tenre chimegi koban tobeche ningbo de serlimbani gyuba yins damga di kung zawo pumo tamgyudans nyawe shinta drembe gerab dans dombo kobe de jambe number robe de ludrup girinchen trewa dala teda de mishin so jambe de de game tome changsa shiwale chunjule kanshi dala kanshi dada shenamni sok ingi sok ins damgala gube kebeje choki chewa tembani dorje palam chakyan rinpoche shingi sigi nebata lojong ge chashikyan da dak chinzin nembas Nima niwe ki chashe ki kyang mumba selwatar di chashe ki kyang dak chinzin selwas junshim mingi jumpa tachi lodab ki chashe re kyang ne selwatar di dak chinzin selwas shins shunton laso shekpacha nima ngabadila tempes chola tuba midrobe kapki lojong ki soma tungen shentu tropa so King Chanchu Lam to Gurwa. Yes. Okay. So the word nectar in Sanskrit is Amrita. Amrita means immortality, that which brings you to immortality. And the ultimate state, when we talk about immortality, even there is this prayer that we make often, Tumichi Vetsema Toana Te Lama Sangeko. If foreseen signs of a premature death, may I, by the clear vision of Mikyo Dorje, defeat the Lord of Death and rapidly obtain the siddhi or the realization of immortality. Is it possible not to die? No. So what is the meaning of siddhi of immortality? What's the difference between falling asleep and dying? One of the main differences is that we fall asleep and we wake up, we remember the previous day. When we die and we are reborn, we do not remember the previous life. That's one of the main differences, because if we had a clear memory of our previous lives, just like we have the memory of our previous days, dying and being reborn will be very similar to falling asleep and waking up again. Okay? So when we say to reach the state of immortality, to overcome death, it means to reach a state of self-awareness in which one is aware as is in the process of death, is aware during the bardo, and is aware in rebirth. It's like where consciousness never stops. The state of self-consciousness is continuous from life to death and to rebirth. You know, us, even during this lifetime, we don't have a constant consciousness. We remember the previous day, we have a continuity between yesterday and today, but we lose consciousness in between. We don't remember what happened as we were sleeping and so on. The state of enlightenment is a state where there is constant consciousness from one life to the other, where death is just a moment of transformation, where one body fades away and the mind takes rebirth into another body and continues. But there is no stop in the process of identity and awareness. Okay, this means the realization of immortality. And the essence that can bring us to this state of immortality is the Dharma, is the teachings of Buddha. So that's why the teachings of Buddha are called nectar. So the essence of the teachings of Buddha, it will be given here from the secret instructions that came from Guru Suvarnadipa from Sumatra. These instructions are similar to a diamond, are similar to the sun, and are similar to a medicinal tree. Okay? So you should understand the meaning, the significance of these instructions as similar to diamond, similar to the sun, and similar to the medicine tree. So, the instructions of the mind training of Lojong are similar to diamond because a diamond, even though it may be very small, even if you break a diamond in one part and you have like just one small part of a diamond, its beauty still exceeds the beauty of other jewels. So, in Tibetan there is a special word which says silgi numba. Silgi numba, how to translate that? It's like when the light of one overshadows the light of another. Like you can have something with a very beautiful light, but it's like the sun and the moon. You know, the moon has a very beautiful light that reflects from the sun, but there is a beautiful light from the moon. But during the day, you cannot see the moon. Why? Not because there is no light coming from the moon, but because the sun is too strong. Okay? And I saw this many times, for example, nearby great masters like Lama Michel Rinpoche. You know, what happened is that other people, even though they have wonderful qualities, near to Rinpoche, they look like nothing. No one is able to see their qualities because they are overshined. I don't know if this word exists, but the light is so strong that the smaller light cannot be seen. Okay? So this is in Tibetan is similar to what in Tibetan is called silgi numba. Numba means it's overcome by the charisma. So by the qualities, the charisma of one overshadows the other, overcomes the other. Okay? So, similar to the fact that the diamond, the beauty of a diamond overcomes the beauty of other jewels. It doesn't matter how they are. Similar to that, even if it's one small part of the mind training that is put into practice, it's able to overshadow selfishness, to put selfishness apart. Even just practicing one small part of the mind training, just like one small part of the diamond, has the strength to overshadow other jewels. Similar to that, not that our selfishness is a jewel, but one part of the teachings put it into practice of this method is able to overcome and overshadow our own selfishness. Second, is like the sun, because if we are at a very dark room and there is a beautiful sunny day and you just make a small hole or you open a very tiny window, that very small amount of sun rays that come inside are able to take away the whole darkness from the room. Similar to that, if we just put in practice one part of the mind training, not the complete thing, it's able to take away the darkness of selfishness from us. And third is like a medicine tree, because a medicine tree is has healing powers on its roots, on its trunk, on its fruits, on its leaves, on every aspect. But just one leaf of a medicine tree is able to cure a disease. Similar to that, just one small part of these teachings, of this method of mind training put into practice, is able to cure the disease of selfishness. Okay? So what is this showing us? That this is a teaching that even though we may not be able to understand the complete thing and put everything into practice, if we are able to take one part of it and use it correctly, it already brings us great benefit. It's very powerful. Okay? And not only that, it has something which makes it even much more special. It's a method that do not require preconditions to practice. For example, let's think about the method of single-pointed meditation. In order to be able to develop the samadhi of single-pointed meditation, which is very important, first we need right conditions. We need to be free from distraction. We need to be in a place where it's silent. We need to have the merits not to depend on anything materially. We need to have the peace of mind of not needing to depend on something else for our survival. There are different conditions which are necessary. To practice Lojong, to train our mind on the Mahayana path, there are no preconditions. Every circumstance is a good opportunity to practice. If we are sick, wonderful. If we are in health state, even better. Or wonderful in the same way, actually. We can practice on both levels. And not only that, at this time of 5 degenerations will then be transformed. This time of the 5 degenerations will then be transformed into the path to the fully awakened state. Through this method of Lojong, of the mind training, if we follow it correctly, if we really put it into practice, the more we are in moments of degeneration, the more life is complicated and difficult, the more things are in a degenerate state, the better are the conditions for our practice. We can transform every circumstance into the path to enlightenment. What are the 5 degenerations? There is the degeneration of time itself. So it is said that the more we go on, less value time will have. Do we experience that in our lifetime? I do. No? Even it is said that, like in Tibet, what they were able to do in one day in a monastery, nowadays is impossible to do. Just all the prayers and the meditations and everything that was done, if you take the schedule of one day and you try to do, nowadays you try to repeat the same schedule, no one is able. It's like if before the time lasted longer, I don't know. Okay? But if we look, we don't need to go into details on that right now, but from many different perspectives, the more we go on, the more there is this feeling that there is not enough time, that life goes by faster. So the quality of time diminishes. Okay? I don't know if you share it in the same way, but it's something very strongly present in our lives. Some months ago, there was one small girl. It was her 8 years birthday. And then, I don't know which was the comment which was made, something about birthday party, whatever, and this and that. And she said, okay, but anyhow, 1 year goes by so fast. And I was thinking, come on. When I was 8, 1 year took ages to pass, you know. And there is this little girl saying, oh, 1 year goes by so fast. Imagine when she will be 40, no? It will be like the blink of an eye. I don't know. But time goes by faster and faster. There are different theories about it. There is one theory which says that biologically speaking, time now has less value. But we don't need to go into that detail right now. Basically, it says that the frequency of the earth goes higher, but the frequency of our brain remains the same. So it's like as if we are always delayed. So according to this theory, which what I understood, it is saying that biologically speaking, 1 hour, 1 day now, instead of it's like instead of being 24 hours, it's like 16 hours. Something like that. But time is relative. So from a subjective point of view, the sensation that I have, and I think most of us have, is that things go by faster and faster, that the quality of time is weaker somehow. So this is the first of the 5 degenerations. Then there is the degeneration of the environment. The environment becoming more and more difficult to live within it. So pollution, temperature, and so on. There is the degeneration of sicknesses, more and more new sicknesses coming. There is the degeneration of medicine, medicines not being able to cure in the same way, so the natural plants being extinct, and so on. Then I'm going into more detail, so it's more than 5. There is the degeneration of food, the food not being able to nourish in the same way as before. Then there is the degeneration of beings, which means sentient beings, people and animals and so on, being more and more overwhelmed by defilements. Let's say the quality of people getting lower from the defilements. So more anger, more attachment, and so on being manifested, okay? So these are the times of degeneration, which we are in times of degeneration. It says that existence is cyclic, and in our own context, we are in a moment in which we are going down. We are still in the moment, we have not touched the bottom yet. It says that when we will touch the bottom, then we will start going up again. And this is said when Buddha Maitreya will come. No? He said that one Buddha come after the other when the cycle gets to the bottom and then it starts up again. Okay? Some people have this strange idea. Oh, let's degenerate the Dharma so Buddha Maitreya comes faster. I don't agree with that. Okay? Anyhow, we live in times of degeneration. And this makes somehow life more difficult. There is a lot of materialism. There is a lot of distractions, there is a lot of violence in many levels. There are many different ways in which we live in times of degeneration. Environment, many things that we can see clearly. Okay? So, if we need to have a system to get out of samsara that depends on the right conditions, it makes it really difficult. But instead, the teachings of Lojong, the method of mind training of Lojong, have this incredible capacity that the more we are in times of degeneration, the more powerful it becomes as a method. Because it's able to use the difficult circumstances as a method for enlightenment. So it's like, you are healthy, wonderful. It's a good opportunity to practice. You get sick, even better. You are with someone that is kind to you, very good to practice. You are with someone that is violent and unkind to you, even better for the practice. The training can be done in any circumstance, in any condition. And this is something very serious. It's not just like, okay, we do Lojong, and because we are a Lojong practitioner, just by itself we transform everything. No. If we use the teachings in the correct way, if we apply the method in the correct way, we will transform every moment. The good ones and the bad ones, the difficult ones, will become part of the path to enlightenment. And this by itself, it's something incredible. It's so powerful. Okay? So, this is the essence of the nectar of Buddha's teachings, which was passed secretly, from master to disciple, arriving in Tibet from Atisha, who received it from Guru Suvarnadipa in Indonesia, okay, who received from their gurus, going back to Shantideva, going back to Asanga, to Nagarjuna, to other masters of India, reaching up to Buddha Shakyamuni. And these teachings not only have this powerful effect to overcome our own selfishness, the main cause of our own suffering, but they adapt to every circumstance, they adapt to every situation. So it's something very, very special, okay? Personally, I have received many different teachings. I have studied Buddhist philosophy from different perspectives. My knowledge is not that vast and that deep, but as it says in Tibetan, Mingme Lumba Nala Mikchi Yana Gyabare, those with one eye are king in the land of the blind. No? So I see myself more or less like this. So it's not that I have the most perfect view of Buddha's teachings, but I have had the opportunity in this life to learn and to know most of what most people here have had the opportunity of. And from everything that I have seen, personally, this is one of the most powerful and functional tools that we have for our spiritual path, for enlightenment. I have no doubt of it. Vajrayana, it's very powerful, but it's rocket science. You know? What many of us we do with Vajrayana is we play rocket science like, playing to be an astronaut. We are not the real astronaut. We play like as if we were an astronaut, Which is wonderful because by that one day we get ready to become a real astronaut. Okay? And Vajrayana, it's very powerful and very important and very holy in many aspects, and we do and we follow. But on a very practical and direct way, this is one of the most powerful methods that we do have to help us to make our life meaningful, to help us to overcome our own negative habits, to help us to bring the knowledge that we gain into experience and practice, to help us to overcome our own selfishness and ignorance. So it's truly, if not the most, one of the most precious things we could ever get in our own lives. Okay? So I'm very happy that we have few days that we will go through slowly through it. We don't have any hurry to go through it. And gradually we will go one step after the other. Tomorrow we will start from the first of the 7. Even though the first of the 7 is the shortest one in the text, if we explain it in some more details, is maybe the longest one in explanation. It says, first train in the preliminaries. So somehow it's taken for granted that we know what are the preliminaries and we have already trained into them. But tomorrow we will start understanding what are the preliminaries. And we will go a little bit how to train in each one of them. Okay? Because there is no point going directly to the next step when we have not fulfilled the first. Okay? So I'm happy that we have all these days together. Tomorrow, tonight Lama Caroline is also coming. So she will be teaching in the afternoon. I will start tomorrow morning. So we will start teachings tomorrow morning. We will start at 9 by doing together the preliminary practices within the Guru Puja and some meditation together. And then after, from 11, then we do from 9 to 10:30. We make a short pause. And then we start from 11 to 1:30 with the teachings. Okay? And we go on in this way. So I advise you, if you can, try to read this text by yourself. Get a little bit familiarized with the meaning. If one of my teachers would say, memorize the text and after come to receive the teachings, no? When I would request some teachings to him, he said, did you memorize the text? No. Okay, first memorize it, then come back. And I would need to give him the exam of the memorization before giving the explanation. So if you can learn the text without needing to memorize the parts of explanation in between, you just go through the main part of the text, but just read it a few times, Try to get a little bit familiarization with the text, which is the essence of these instructions. And because if we get familiarized with it, by reading it a few times, then when we go to the explanation, it's much more easy. We go much more deep once we get the actual meaning of the words. Okay? So we do our dedication for today. Sashipu ki chushimeto Tramare rabalingashi Nide gempadi Sangye shintu Mikte ulvarki Drokunamda shingla Chöpar shoya Jetsunla me kutse rapten chin Nam karachin le chokchur gepada Losan tempe drume sasumgi Drove munsela tatu ne gyurche Yedama guru ratna mandrala kam niryata yami Kewa kundu yanda lama dan Dralme cheke pela longche ching Sadan lamge yunten rabzone Dorje change kopa nyurtobe shoya Chancho semcho rinpoche Ma ke panama ke gyurchi Kepa nyambra me payang Kongne konto pelwar shu Nimo dele tsendele Nime kuyan delekshi Ninsen takto delekpe Kuncho sumke chingelo Kuncho sumke ngodrubotsol Kuncho sumke trashishu At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni. Possono aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Mi men serve ter cen resi Drime kempe wampo jampel duopong malu jomse sangweda Kanchen kepe so onkapa lo sang trakpe shabla asolwade. Thank you very much, and we continue tomorrow morning.